I am very impressed with the book. I am also impressed, Dan, in the cover of the book, it says that you are the proud holder of 3 Guinness Books of Records. I've never had anybody on with a record from cycling. What was that all about? Because I'm very impressed. A senior should take note of this.
Yeah, well, when I got out of college at an age when most of my colleagues were doing useful and productive things, I wanted to travel. I had this, I worked for National Public Radio for a while, and I learned if you can create an event that will generate publicity, something you know something about, you can get a sponsor. And I thought about bicycling from Minnesota to South America, but I instinctively knew if Guinness would cover it, that I could get a sponsor. And I wrote Guinness, and I told them about my idea, and they said, we love your idea, but if you want a world record, you need to start up in the Arctic Ocean at Prudhoe Bay and bicycle down to the southern tip. And that's just what I did. It took us 10 months, 5 days. My brother Steve joined us, set a Guinness World Record for that. And then a few years later, we found that it was a satisfying way to live. We set another record for bicycling around the world. I call it, I ride from Minneapolis to St. Paul the long way. Went through United States, Europe, the former Soviet Union, and back around the other side. And then in '92, my brother Steve and I, along with 2 African Americans, set the record for bicycling across Africa. And that was the hardest one. Pedaled 2,100 miles across the Sahara.
Were you ever in danger?
Oh, you're
constantly.
Yeah, we're in danger. No more danger than, going through a bad neighborhood in Minneapolis, I think. But
well, that's encouraging.
But yeah, one of the big lessons we learned, though, is that there seemed to be an inverse relationship between wealth and the hospitality of people. And in fact, I think a lot of places that we perceive as being dangerous, darkest Africa, the Sahara, we were through El Salvador and Nicaragua at the peak of their wars, really weren't as bad as people thought. And I've pedaled 120,000 miles, and I've had basically, every disease. As my doctor says, you can't donate your body to science anymore. You have to donate it to science fiction. It made me stronger.
I'm fascinated by the book. Now, I know what the Blue Zone means, but I want you to define what it means, the Blue Zone.
For 7 years, I write for National Geographic magazine, and we got funding from the National Institutes on Aging, which is part of our government, to find 4 parts of the world where people are living longest. And the way we define that is either they have the highest life expectancy, or there are more centenarians, proportionally speaking. In America right now, there are 61,000 people over age 100.
In America?
In America. That makes it about 1 out of 5,000. In these parts of the world, there's 1 out of 250 people make it to age 100. Only about 10% of how long the average American lives is dictated by genes. The other 90% is lifestyle. So the premise of Blue Zones is if we can take researchers to these 4 places and distill down what they do, we can come back with a de facto formula for longevity. And that's what Blue Zones is. It's a guidebook to get an extra 6 to 7 good years of life. And the good news is it's never too late. The things that we talk about in Blue Zones, they'll instantly make you feel younger, look younger.
You can be 65, 75 and still do it.
You can be 99 and still do these things and add to your life expectancy. It's never too late.
What are the 4 zones that you discovered that are the touchstones of long life?
Blue Zones. We found one in Okinawa, Japan, 800 miles south of Tokyo. There you have the highest percentage of female centenarians, longest disability-free life expectancy. The highlands of Sardinia, a Bronze Age culture, was pushed up into the mountains about the time of Christ and have been largely isolated there for the last 2,000 years. Sardinia is right off the coast of Italy. The Nicoya Peninsula of Costa Rica. And then finally in Loma Linda, California, where you've about 70 miles straight east of Los Angeles, where you have the highest percentage of Seventh-day Adventists. And Adventists have been studied by our government, by epidemiology studies funded by our government, and found that they live about 10 years longer than the average American.
I'm surprised about that one because California is such fast living and that sort of thing. And in the midst of all that fast living, there's that little enclave of good health.
Which illustrates a very good point. These longevity secrets are portable, and you don't have to live on an island or in the mountains. You can bring them home to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and put them to work in your life.
What are some of the lessons that I don't want to take away any possibilities of buying a book, but what are some of the lessons that you could tell some of our seniors?
Yeah, we found 9 of them. A few of them, important ones, are the importance of regular low-intensity physical activity, not pushing yourself, running and triathlons and pumping iron. That really isn't a secret to long-term longevity. What seems to work for the longest-lived people are doing things you enjoy, walking, gardening. I think is one of the greatest longevity exercises because you get a range of motion. It tends to shed stress. You tend to do it every day or near every day, weeding or pruning or whatever. And you emerge with organic vegetables. Playing with your children, huge. Playing with your children not only gives you this low-intensity activity and you kind of forget about it because it's fun, but you make that connection.
How about grandchildren?
Grandchildren, even better.
Good. Well, go ahead. I interrupted you. What are some of the other... I know there's something about finding meaning in life. I came across that.
Sense of purpose is enormous. You know, the 2 most lethal years of your life are the year you're born and the year you retire. 2 more years you're most likely to die. Why is that? Well, I believe it's because most people's purpose is so wrapped around their job, they lose their job and then what next? It's so important, I think, before you retire or soon after you retire that you make that effort to reconnect with your values, reconnect with your passions, take inventory on what you're good at, and then find an outlet for that. Having a sense of purpose, we see it across the board. The Okinawans call it ikigai, the Costa Ricans call it plan de vida, but a good sense of purpose is probably worth a half a dozen years of life expectancy at 55.
There were a couple here that I was impressed with and somewhat discouraged with. Restrict meat intake to 4 times a month.
Yeah, the more meat you eat, the quicker you'll die. There's just no 2 ways about it. Study after study. You want to eat a plant-based diet, and if you eat meat, make it a condiment. Thomas Jefferson actually recommended the same thing.
He did.
Eat meat like a condiment. You know, 2
tiny
ounces or less.
petite.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like your pickle.
The other one was to reduce calories. An example in Okinawa where they have a smaller. They use a smaller plate. I think that.
Yes.
A 10-inch plate instead of a 12-inch plate. You put food on for 10 inches as against 12-inch plate.
Right. The message to our brain that we're full comes in a variety of different ways. One is our stomach feels full, but that tends to be a delayed response. It takes about 20 minutes. We look around us and we see that people are full. That other people are done. But seeing that our plate is empty sounds a subliminal message to our brains that we're done eating. So if you use a smaller plate over time, you're going to consume 20 to 30% fewer calories at every meal. And so one of the environmental changes you can do is go into your kitchen cabinet, take those big plates and give them to Goodwill and buy plates the size of a salad plate.
There was a point here also about hang out with the right people. Don't hang out with people who eat fast food, don't exercise, and so on. And why is that?
We've always heard that we're known by the company we keep. Now scientists increasingly are showing us that we live as the company we keep. If your 3 best friends are obese and we hang out with them, there's a 50% better chance we'll be fat ourselves. So the key is to put effort in surrounding yourself with people who have the right habits, whose idea of recreation is physical activity, who are engaged with the world, who have interests, who have purpose, who have a spiritual component. That way, just hanging out with them, these behaviors are going to ensue. It's very hard to change behavior consciously. It's much easier to set up your environment so you're nudged into it little by little.
That's a very good advice. Well, the Blue Zone, it's an easy read because I liked it. It's big type.
Big type. And did you like how I dotted the I's with little hearts?
Yes.
Just kidding.
Yes, I loved it.
No, it's a New York Times bestseller. In fact, I'm on the top of several lists still. It's selling thousands of copies a week. I'm very, very proud. I live right here in Minneapolis, and not many Minneapolis writers get the honor.
Get that much traction. That's just terrific. So we can buy it anywhere, right?
Yeah, Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com. I also have a website, bluezones.com, and I have a free calculator if you want to know how long you're going to live. You click on the Vitality Compass button.
I don't think I want to know because I'm eating too much meat.
Yeah, but you're engaged. You have a sense of purpose.
Yes,
you
I have
You're
that.
physically fit.
Working
You know,
at
you
it.
have your own TV show. You got to get a few years for that, right?
That helps, right? I really enjoy it. We've been talking to Dan Buettner. The book is The Blue Zone. Fascinating read. By all means, pick one up.